guys, welcome to Brian's Man Cave. So today's another episode of 5 must-play Atari games. And this being that I'm filming this in October, I guess I'll call it the October edition. Mainly because, Halloween. Now this video was actually inspired by another YouTuber. I just watched her video, and that is Linda, aka the Gamer Girl. She did a 5 sometimes overlooked horror games for the Atari 2600, and it got me thinking. I haven't done a 5 must-play in a while. I almost thought that maybe there's no more to talk about, but this gave me an opportunity to say, you know what, this is kind of a great topic. Now, she had 5 great titles that she talked about, and I'm going to leave a link down below so you can check out that video too. And I don't want to just replicate the ones she talked about. I want to actually talk about, the ones that I always like to play, or the ones that I enjoy, or the ones I think that most people probably should try at some point or another. So let's go to the first one that I would pick. And these aren't in actual order. I don't really, this is number 1. Like, this is just the order I just threw together. So let's start with Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters being a, obviously a horror theme in a sense. You're catching ghosts. Great movie to watch during this time of year. Especially if you're not into too much of the really scary or graphic horror movies. Gives you that horror theme. Anyways, for the Atari 2600, they pulled off a pretty decent version. Now, my first experience of this game was on the Commodore 64 back when I was a kid. And I loved this game. I played it all the time. I loved the Commodore 64 version. And I never thought that this game would ever be on the Atari 2600. In fact, I didn't even know about it for the longest time until I guess I was watching a video on YouTube and I saw it, and I went, wait, hold the phone, there's an Atari 2600 Ghostbusters game? How did they pull that off? And they did. It's brilliant. It's Activision, so you know it's going to be good. In fact, when I ordered my own copy off of eBay, I made sure I got the one with the Ghostbuster symbol. You can actually get it with the blue label, and I guess it was the later released before they kind of went under. But the game itself plays really well, and in fact, it plays very similar to what I recall from playing on the Commodore 64. I still do play that version as well, so I enjoy both of them. But I like how the Atari captures a lot of the feel of the game. Obviously, it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. It's missing a few things here and there, but that's it. It's expected. It's the Atari 2600. They're not going to be able to replicate everything. Obviously, they can't have the talking and, to the extent. There are a few Atari games that have talking, but not many. But yeah, definitely check this one out. It's a good October title. Now, I couldn't have done this list without this game. This is just, it's a must. And that's Haunted House. This one I didn't really have a whole lot of experience with, because I didn't play it I didn't have it. And I didn't even know too much about it for the longest time. And I saw it sitting on a shelf in the flea market I usually shopped at. And I thought, Haunted House, what is that? And I didn't grab it at the time. I wasn't familiar with it. And then I saw a video on it on YouTube, and I was like, this game's amazing. I got to get my hands on that. So I went back the next day and I picked it up. And I was quite surprised on how interesting this game is. Now, obviously, you're in a haunted house, so it's all dark. You're just a pair of eyes walking around. Kind of reminds me a lot of Adventure, which is another great title for the Atari 2600. In the way that it moves, the way you move around, the way you're searching, you're trying to find a chalice. You got to find, I think it's 3 parts of this chalice. You're avoiding some creepy things, like I think it's ghosts and bats and stuff like that. You gotta avoid all that. And every once in a while, you can light a match, and then you'll get a little glowing aura around you, and then you can kind of see little things here and there. It's nice and creepy. It's one of these games that I'm sure a lot of the, kids from the 80s would turn off all their lights, put this on their Atari and play it at nighttime, because it would definitely give you that kind of spooky feel to it. Doesn't really have sound or anything like that, but still a great title. And if you're really into the Atari artwork, the graphics on this one are great. Like the graphics on the cover, the graphics on the game. I bet you people back in the day, they saw this sitting on the shelf, and they were like, well, just gotta have that based on the graphics alone, which was not, unique with Atari. The next one, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting choice that I, wanted to include, and that's Gremlins. Now, I don't know if this is considered a Halloween movie, a Christmas movie, or what. I think it does. The movie, doesn't it take place in Christmas? It's been a long time since I actually watched Gremlins. Probably something I should sit down and rewatch. You know, I was probably a kid when I saw it. But I mean, it's Gremlins, so, you know, you can't go wrong. It's crazy critters coming after you. Um, the cool thing about this game is you kind of get two different kinds of games in one. So you get the first level, it's kind of like the game Kaboom, where you got to catch the falling, what are they called, mugwais or something? I can't remember the name now. You got to catch them falling from the sky, and every time you miss them, they kind of go into this patch. And then I think what it's replicating is they're eating food. And if I remember correctly in the movie, they're not supposed to eat after midnight or something like that. And if they do, something happens, or I can't remember it. It's whatever. But the point is, the game actually plays pretty well. The one thing though is, because it's a Kaboom style game, you kind of miss not having that paddle controller. You have to use the joystick controller. And the reason why they do that is because on the second level, you're now going into a shooter style game where the bad guys are coming down at you. The creepy gremlins are coming down at you, and you got to start shooting them. And it does require the joystick at that point. So interesting game. I don't think it's very common. You don't see these very often on the shelf. I can't remember what they're worth, but you know, they're just a little bit more of an obscure title. Interesting game though. The next one, and this is Linda's choice, and this one kind of caught me off guard when I saw her video, because I never consider it to be a Halloween style, horror style game, but it makes a lot of sense, and that is Demon Attack. And I've played this a few times. I enjoyed it. I think it's a nice shooter game. This is the Intellivision one. This is not the Atari one, but they look, I mean, the covers pretty much look the same. It's a Magic. They tried to do a good job on all the systems they created cartridges for. You know, the Intellivision one had a few extra things to it. But overall, I mean, the game is pretty good. If you're into the Space Invader style shooters, this one's a little bit more complicated. The demons are flying around. You got to attack those things. They look pretty creepy. You got to get them before they get you. And then there's another screen, kind of like with the Gremlins game. You kind of go into the secondary screen where you got to kind of dodge them, and they're all coming down at you. Really cool game, really cool graphics. I think a lot of people really enjoy this title. And, you know, it's got the word demon in it, so it's got to be scary at some point. You know, I don't mind it. It's one of those games you really got to play for points. And sort of like the Gremlins one, it's really about racking up the points. And I think that's what a lot of people enjoy about it, is kind of like Space Invaders. You just shooting, killing, racking up the points. So the last one that I need to kind of throw out there, and I know Linda talked about this one in her video as well. It wasn't one of her choices because it's too obvious, and that's Halloween. It just has to be there. Now, unfortunately, this was a rare title. It was made by a company, Wizard Video, I believe their name was. I was never aware of this game as well when I was a kid. A little bit more obscure. I think I learned about it from watching The Angry Video Game Nerd on YouTube. He did a whole video on it. But the game itself is pretty cool. Like, I just like how you're the babysitter and you're trying to, like, rescue a kid. And at any moment, Mike Myers can come into the screen wielding a knife and literally chop your head off. Or the kid's head off. Which is pretty brutal if you think about it. You know, I'm thinking about today, if they were to try and release games like this that potentially kids could play. Now, I know, say on Xbox and all that, they do have some pretty gory titles, but we now have that rating system and stuff like that, and a lot of them, the gory stuff, the horror stuff, I'm sure they're rated far up on the mature scale. I don't know about Halloween, though. We're going back to the days when these cartridges could have been kicking around anywhere. Kids could have got their hands on them and played them. Now, because it was more of an obscure title, it probably wasn't in the hands of a lot of children, so I don't think it mattered. But the game's fun. I mean, you get to run around this house. You're pretty much trying. I think you have to get a knife and you have to kind of kill Mike Myers. You have to save the little kid. I'm not the greatest at it. I played it a few times myself. I think I've even done a Watch Me Suck at This Game episode where I played this one. Really interesting game. Definitely a good choice to pop into your system in October. You know, it's Halloween. Anyways, Let me know what you think of the 5 October games. Throw some down below if you think I missed some, if there were some obvious titles that I missed. There's a lot of great games on the Atari. There's a lot of great horror style games. I mean, so many could fall into that category. You just never know. Anyways, hope you liked the video. Hope you subscribe. Talk to you later.